8 shocking Bible secrets about God you never knew exists. Discover the truth now. People whisper about it in hushed tones, an electric charge hanging in the air like the smell of impending rain. Secrets lie buried beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed. 8 startling revelations waiting to collide with everything you thought you knew. Picture this: ancient scrolls, weathered by time, hold truths that could shake the very foundations of faith. Have you ever wondered how a simple book could contain such power? Each page a gateway into mysteries that defy explanation, drawing in curious souls like moths to a flame. But let us talk specifics. Number 1. The enigmatic appearances of angels. Ever hear of the seraphim? With 6 wings, their fiery gaze can ignite a soul with a single look. Imagine standing before them, heart racing, as they cry out praises that echo through eternity. Then there are the Nephilim, giants walking among men. What terrifying stories lie behind their creation? What role did they play in shaping our world? The shadows of these beings linger long after they've left, a lingering chill on the spine, and just when you think it can't get weirder, consider the miraculous signs from above. Cumulative storms that seem to roll in from nowhere? What about those instances in the sky where the sun stood still? Can you feel the thumping in your chest at the thought that perhaps our perceptions of time and space are nothing more than an illusion? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The tales only deepen from there. Think about the prophetic visions swirling around, how they still resonate sharp today. A burning bush that speaks? Dead men rising from their graves? Can you hear the gasps of the crowd? The unanswered questions hang heavy in the air. What will it take to peel back the layers? So many people have walked this earth, yet those secrets remain tantalizingly out of reach. What if you were the one to unlock them? Stay close. The journey has only just begun. What other surprises are hiding in the shadows, waiting to reveal themselves? The air was thick with anticipation, each heartbeat echoing like a drum in the oppressive silence. As curiosity grew, so did the urgency to uncover the truths kept hidden for millennia. Every secret revealed a pathway to something deeper, more terrifying. The excitement coursed through those seeking knowledge, tangible sensations sparking like electricity beneath their skin. For every myth and speculation, there lay a twisted thread connecting countless lives to a grand narrative. These whispered truths floated around like smoke, leaving behind a sense of suffocation. What was hidden within their verses? When they spoke of miracles, did they whisper warnings too? Then came the turning point. The minute shadows flitted across the walls, a reminder of the weight of discovery. What happens when the veil is lifted? The room was alive with hushed whispers, souls echoing the fear of seeing too much. They gathered, pondering what awaited them, a deeper understanding or a nightmarish truth. A man, trembling, stepped forward. What if the prophecies aren't just words? What if they're guides to understanding our present? His voice quivered, barely louder than a whisper, but it sent a wave of tension rippling through the hesitant crowd. The idea hung there, floating in the air, heavy and inescapable. What do you mean? A voice challenged, more curious than skeptical. Imagine being warned of disasters to come, the man continued, his eyes wide, drawing fearful glances. What if they told of a dark age upon us? What if the very chaos we're living through has been foretold? The fires, the storms, the signs in the sky, it all connects. Gasps erupted, eyes darting towards one another, seeking comfort in shared dread. But could they afford to ignore the implications? The shifting shadows threatened not only their comfort but the very essence of their beliefs. Each passage, wrinkled into ages-old parchment, screamed truths beyond human comprehension. Were humans meant to witness such realities? A frail woman in the back of the room clutched her chest, the weight of knowledge creating a suffocating grip that threatened to pull her under. Don't fear the revelations, someone whispered. Instead, embrace them. Seek the clarity at the end of the tunnel of chaos. But who could honestly believe that? The truth stared back, raw and unrelenting. Then, with a flicker of candlelight, an ancient scroll that had been overlooked suddenly caught their eye. Its golden edges shone brightly amidst the gloom, an irresistible lure. What secrets lay within its folds? They shifted towards it, breathless, longing to unearth whatever dark wisdom it held, even if it came at a cost. As fingers brushed against the aged texture, a sudden chill swept through the room, causing everyone to freeze. Unearthly whispers wrapped around them, entreating and warning. You have initiated the unraveling. It cannot be undone. With hearts pounding and minds racing, they stood on the precipice of something monumental. Would they follow the pull of destiny, or flee from the dread lurking in palpable shadows? The scroll unrolled slightly, revealing a glimmer of prophetic ink. Eyes widened in collective disbelief as they realized they had crossed a line. What would unfold as they plunged deeper into these revelations? Were they finally ready for what lay ahead? Or would their very lives be turned upside down, lost in a torrent of divine secrets? The weight of anticipation surged once more, and the story was far from over. What horrors would their growing knowledge unleash? The scroll unfurled with an ominous rustle, revealing ancient symbols that flickered under the candlelight. Each glyph seemed to pulse, shadows dancing across the walls as if the very fabric of history was alive and aware. The whispers grew louder, clawing at their sanity. Were these the words of prophets or serpents? I can't, the frail woman gasped, her hand fumbling for support. I can't bear this. Her face was pale, eyes wide, reflecting the fear that gripped the room like a vice. Others shifted uneasily, the collective anxiety thickening like fog, spreading through the thrumming silence. What if it speaks of our fate? A man's voice stuttered, quaking with each syllable. His fear rippled through the crowd, reviving phantoms of doubt and despair. What if the destruction out there is merely a preview of something far worse? The flickering candles caught a glimpse of determination in one figure at the front. She stepped closer, fingers trembling as they traced the edges of the scroll. We need to look. We can't unsee what we've already begun. If there are answers, we have to face them. Her voice trembled yet held an edge of bravery, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. What if it makes things worse? A voice protested, a woman's eyes darting nervously. What if knowing this truth brings upon us the very doom that's inscribed here? But the scroll beckoned with an undeniable allure, like a siren's song. Their hands swayed, inching toward the truth that could unravel everything they held dear. With each pulse of the symbols, the air thickened, pressing down, each breath a struggle against the weight of revelation. Suddenly, a chilling wail erupted outside, shattering the moment. People gasped, panic surging in the room. What was that? Someone cried, their face drained of color. The air seemed to shudder as primal fear bubbled to the surface. They all felt it, a surge of foreboding resonating in their bones. I'll go check, the man from before muttered, swallowing hard as courage warred with dread. He stepped away from the group, the flickering light of the candles throwing eerie shadows across his face. Others remained frozen, hearts racing, caught between the burning desire for knowledge and a primal urge to flee. He edged toward the door, breath hitching as another scream echoed through the night, the voice tinged with terror, one they recognized. It's Clara! Someone shouted, fear spilling into the words. They rushed to the door, bodies colliding in a storm of panic. The moment they burst out into the night, the air crackled with tension. The street lay eerily silent, broken only by the distant echoes of despairing cries. The world outside seemed pivoted on some unseen axis, reality morphing into something unrecognizable. Where is she? One of the crowd yelled, desperation clawing at the edges of their sanity. They spread out, eyes wide, scanning shadows that twisted and shifted like phantoms. Then, amid the gloom, a figure stumbled into view, eyes wide with horror, blood trickling from a gash on her forehead. You have to run! Clara gasped, hands trembling as she struggled to form her words. It's here. The prophesied darkness is awakening. You have to choose. A sacrifice must be made. An electric shock of fear coursed through them. The truth, unfathomable and sinister, began to reveal itself. What had they unearthed? What ancient forces had been stirred by their insatiable quest for knowledge? As the night deepened and their hearts drummed violently in their chests, each faced a choice: they could embrace their destiny, or become victims of its wrath. What sacrifice would they choose? Time ticked mercilessly onward, unfurling unfathomable possibilities in its wake. The night was only beginning, and the true horrors were yet to be unveiled. Clara's breath came in ragged gasps, her eyes glimmering with a mixture of adrenaline and terror. The once tangible fear that had rippled through the crowd was now a raging storm, each pulsing heartbeat in sync with the impending darkness. "You don't understand. It's already here," she shouted, her voice cracking, raw with urgency. Their shock was palpable, faces transforming into masks of disbelief. Some stepped back, instinctively recoiling from the reality crash that Clara had just thrown upon them. "What do you mean? Here?" A tall man sputtered, scanning the darkened street as if he could physically ward off the threat they could barely comprehend. "Yes. The prophesied darkness, it's rising. You all read the scrolls, something ancient's been disturbed." Clara's hands flailed, trying to hold their gaze, trying to steady their panicking hearts. "But we didn't believe," someone spoke from the back, voice trembling under the weight of sudden dread. "It can't be real." As if on cue, the atmosphere shifted. The breeze that had once felt merely cool now earned its bite, an unnatural chill crawling down their spines. Just past Clara, shadows flitted and danced in a manner that felt alive, sentient. The crowd stilled, tension coiling tighter, as if the dawn of some terrible revelation had arrived. "Then we need a plan," another voice erupted. "We can't just wait for it to come for us." It was Michelle, the brave one who had stepped closer to the scroll. She grasped the fabric of her resolve tightly, a fire igniting in her eyes. "We need to find the answers in that scroll. We need to know what it requires from us." "Are you mad?" someone cried, the fear palpable. "That scroll put us here. It woke something we don't even understand. Or maybe it's the only way to stop it." Michelle argued back, her determination unfaltering. "If we're meant to make a sacrifice, we need to know what that means." Clara winced, her body shaking as dread settled deep in her bones. "What if it takes one of us? What if enough?" a man shouted, stepping forward. "We have to face this together. Either we stick together and fight this, or we let it consume us one by one." His words hung there, heavy and daunting. Just as the air became steeped in tension, the sound of shuffling feet echoed behind them, a chilling reminder of the growing darkness that loomed. The group turned their gaze back toward the shadows. They felt it lurking, oozing closer, a predator just waiting for the right moment. "Yes, right," Clara whispered, though fear creased her brow. "We can't stand here forever." She looked to each of them in turn, desperation mixed with a flicker of courage. "Then let us choose, let us begin deciphering the scroll. It may be the only thread that keeps us from unraveling into horror." And with that, the group pressingly filed back towards the dim glow of candlelight that awaited them inside, the scroll beckoning like a moth to a flame. As they huddled around it once more, trembling fingers traced the ominous symbols, the very air around them vibrating with expectancy. Michelle's voice trembled. "If we choose to go this route, if we begin to engage with what's written here, we must ask." She took a deep breath, the taste of inevitability bitter on her tongue. "What if the sacrifice needed is one of us? Who among us is willing to pay that price?" In that heavy moment of stunned silence, reality hit harder than ever. Each face in that room felt the weight of the air as reality crumpled back. They were entangled in a fight against something far more potent than fear itself. Would they find a way to bargain with the darkness? Or would the very ancient forces they stirred demand allegiance crafted in blood? The flickering candles dimmed, shadows looming, underscoring the chilling notion that their fate was intertwined with the shadowy figure surging with rage. What secret sacrifice awaited them? Who would confront the darkness when the moment came? They all turned to the scroll again, breaths held tight in the womb of fear, knowing that knowledge born from the past could change everything. But one thought reared above the rest: what desperate choice would emerge when dawn finally broke? The scroll whispered secrets that nestled in the crevices of their minds, each symbol converging into a menacing web. Clara felt her heart race, as if time itself twisted in their anticipation. Okay, let us read it. We need to find a way out of this nightmare, she murmured, her hands shaking. Michelle lifted her hand, pressing it against the scroll. We need to focus, she urged. Look! The first word, it means blood. A wave of unease drifted through the group, like the chill before a storm. The candles flickered wildly, shadows convulsing on the walls, as if the darkness yearned to be heard. Blood, what does it want with blood? Whispered a young woman in the back, her voice betraying dread. It can't be real. This can't be happening. Michelle shot a challenging look at her. We have to face it. Knowledge is power. If something wicked is rising, we can't simply hide. The resolve in her voice wrapped around the group, binding them together against a fear more shadowed than the night. Clara's breath hitched as the scroll revealed a glimpse of an ancient ritual. It speaks of a chosen one who must willingly walk into darkness, Clara read, each word landing like a hammer on glass. It talks about a sacrifice that could save the others. But it doesn't specify who. No, a man murmured, clenching his fists, as if trying to suppress panic. No one should have to die. His voice trembled, echoing the unspoken fears of the others. Then what do we do? Another voice murmured in despair. We can't just wait for it to come for us. Sifting through the shadows, the atmosphere thickened. A restless energy surged in the air, tightening their throats. Clara thought she felt a pulse, a heartbeat lurking just beyond the threshold. She shivered but pressed on. Maybe the scroll has a way to identify the chosen. Her heart pounded against her ribcage as each face turned toward the intricate symbols once more, digging for hope in that abyss. Let us decipher this, Michelle prompted, her voice gaining conviction. If it tells us who or what needs to step into the shadows, we can prepare. We can fight. Just as determination flickered to life amongst them, a loud crack pierced the charged air, freezing everyone in place. The candles snuffed out one by one, swallowed by encroaching darkness. Panic flared. Clara's senses screamed as she clutched the scroll, feeling its weight like a promise or an impending curse. Stay together! Someone shouted, though fear fractured the command. Suddenly, they heard a low rumble, a sound that sent chills racing up their spines. It was a growl, deep and guttural, oozing thick despair. The shadows began to form shapes, dark figures shifting, pulsing with a sense of hungry anticipation. Clara's skin prickled, and she squinted into the worsening gloom. Deep breaths, she told herself. She felt her thoughts muddle as darkness blanketed the room, clawing for control. We have to finish reading, she urged, desperate to cling to some flicker of hope. But the instinct to escape gripped the group, and before anyone could answer, 2 or 3 pushed back, trying to reach the door. No! Don't! Michelle shouted, eyes wide with alarms that mirrored Clara's own. But the door slammed shut, swollen with unseen pressure, locking each terrified soul in with the gathering terror. Clara! Michelle yelled, grabbing her arm. You have to say something that will bind them. Use the scroll. As the shadows crept closer, Clara felt a swell of panic, whether it was the impending darkness or the sacrifice they had to confront. She had become the anchor of fate. Help me decipher. What binds us to the light? Tell me. And just then, as they grasped the weight of their choices and the scroll pulsed ominously, a piercing scream broke through the darkness, a scream that wasn't theirs. What had they awakened? Would the price of their survival be worth the cost of their humanity? The shadows drew nearer, hungry for blood. They were trapped. But the scroll held the answers. Was it too late to find them? The scream echoed like a siren, igniting chaos among the already trembling group. Eyes wide with fear, Clara felt the frigid grip of terror clasp around her heart. The darkness pulsed like a living entity, whispering her name in an agonizing symphony of despair. What was that? Someone breathed, their voice barely above a whisper, heavy with dread. Clara couldn't find her own voice, her throat tight, constricted by something unseen. She clutched the scroll like a lifeline as the flickering shadows seemed to writhe, thickening with malevolent intent. Gathering herself, Clara's gaze darted to Michelle. The scroll, it has to have some way to protect us. Her eyes burned with urgency, heart drumming a frenetic beat. If only they could unlock its secrets before the darkness claimed them. Michelle studied the scroll with a newfound ferocity. There must be something, she murmured, tracing her fingers over the delicate symbols that glowed feebly in the murky light. Look! This symbol, it looks like a key. A key to what? Before Clara could respond, the oppressive atmosphere changed. A suffocating stillness enveloped the room, as if the shadows were holding their breath, waiting. With every heartbeat that passed, the threat loomed larger, menacingly alive and aware. The growling noise intensified again, low and rumbling like thunder, sending vibrations through the floor and into their bones. Whatever it is, it's getting closer, Clara whispered, her voice trembling. She had to act. Not for herself, but for everyone. We can use the scroll to find the chosen one. Maybe it can reveal who must step forward. Michelle nodded, her determination sparking against the encroaching darkness. We can't let fear dictate our choices. Just as they squeezed closer to deciphering the symbols, a sudden force struck the group, a surge of darkness that felt like icy claws ripping through the air. One of the shadows launched forward, slashing through the dimness, revealing a gnarled figure twisted with an unnatural hunger. Clara gasped, heart racing, each beat urging her to run. Yet she stood frozen as the figure's hollow eyes bore down on her. She clutched the scroll tighter, summoning every ounce of courage. Tell me who it is, let me know. The tortured face of the figure twisted in a cruel grin. The darkness throbbed with its own pulse, echoing an evil laughter that sent chills racing down her spine. A flicker of light from the scroll caught her eye, illuminating a sequence of symbols that pulsed in time with the quickening beat of her heart. Wait! Clara urged, heart pounding in synchrony with the symbols. It's like a chant. If we say it together without waiting for anyone else. Clara started to recite the first words that resonated with hope. The others rallied behind her, repeating the incantation. The room vibrated, a palpable energy thrumming as their voices combined. With every utterance, the shadows writhed and shrank back, but the dark figure advanced, snarling, its eyes burning with an insatiable hunger. You cannot escape. It rasped with a voice that split the air like glass. Desperate, Clara pushed her voice louder, anchoring her resolve into the chant. We bind you to the darkness. Let our light be your prison. A searing pain shot through her as the figure lunged forward. The scroll blazed, a burst of light erupting into the room like the dawn. A thrumming energy coiled around them, but Clara felt it a siphoning pull, as if something was about to break free. Then, all at once, the room dimmed again, the chant interrupted by a shattering blast. The scroll flew from Clara's grip, spiraling into the void, and the figure matched the intensity of their fear. Amidst the chaos and uncertainty, a new voice rose from the murky depths, a voice they knew but never wanted to hear. Clara's heart sank as reality twisted in front of her. Had the darkness been merely the start? What have you awakened? It demanded, the shadows thrumming with anticipation. What were they truly facing? The cost of their survival loomed like an inescapable shadow. And now, the question hummed. In the air like poison, were they ready to confront the nightmare they had unleashed? The room thickened with an oppressive heat, each breath Clara took feeling heavier than the last. The familiar voice twisted like a dagger in her gut, pulling her deeper into the nightmare unfolding before her. The shadows seemed to pulse with a heartbeat, racing in sync with her dread. What is that? Michelle shouted, her voice fraying at the edges with panic. Panic rippled through the group, eyes darting wildly in search of an escape route that didn't exist. The figure loomed larger, its features sharper, darker, and Clara, trapped in her own memories, recognized the gleam in its hollow eyes. It was a reflection of her worst fears, an echo of doubt that had shadowed her every step. No, it can't be you, she stammered, disbelief mingling with terror. Ah, but it is, the dark voice cackled, and the sound sliced through the tension like a knife. You've called forth a terror unmatched, Clara. Did you truly think you could wield that power? It has awakened the very essence of your despair. The scroll, now lost to the void, seemed to unlock a sinister energy in the air. Those around Clara gasped, grappling with the realization that this was not a mere shadow. It had substance, born of nightmares that crawled forth to haunt them. "Clara!" Michelle yelled, jerking her from the swirling fear. "What do we do now?" Desperation laced her voice, and Clara could see the fear etched on every face surrounding her. Their survival hinged on her next move. She could feel the scroll's remnants whispering to her from the darkness. Memories of ancient texts' power and hope flooded her mind. The legends told of the chosen one who could banish the shadows. "We need to get the scroll back. There's a way to banish it, I just know it." Grabbing Michelle's arm, Clara pushed forward, adrenaline fueling her movements. "We can't let it take us. Focus on the light. We have to chant it again." The group, unified by terror, searched their surroundings, looking for any sign of the scroll. The dark figure moved closer, the air thick with its malevolence. "You can't hope to use light against the darkness you summoned," it hissed, mocking their desperation. "Then we harness the shadows," Clara shouted, a flicker of bravery igniting within her. "If we bind this entity with what we have, we can trap it in its own darkness." With that, she willed her voice into a fierce shout and gestured to the others to join her. Amid the sudden uncertainty, they linked hands, forming a circle, forcing their fear into the chant. The words sprang forth, trembling with energy. The shadows began to writhe as their voices harmonized into a swell of defiance, swirling around the figure, pushing back against its advance. "We summon the light in the dark. We thwart the hunger with our heart." Just as the chant reached a fever pitch, the darkness recoiled violently, and Clara sensed that there was a thin barrier formed between them and the dark figure. The shadows twisted, screaming in rage as it faltered, but Clara knew this wasn't over. "What have you given voice to?" the entity snarled, a surge of anger drowning the room in a wave of cold. "Only chaos will rise from this, only chaos." In that moment, Clara's courage teetered on the brink of collapse. The darkness pulsed, flickering, but something caught her eye, lurking in the shadows, the scroll. It glimmered faintly, just out of reach. Their chant faltered as the energy began to dip. Clara felt the fear creeping in again, a suffocating slide of despair tightening over her chest. Would they fall victim to their own summons? As if in response to her thoughts, the darkness lunged, and Clara's heart stopped cold. The moment drew breath, frozen in time. "Clara! We need you!" Michelle's voice sliced through the haze, a lifeline in a storm. With a newfound determination, Clara lunged for the scroll, believing against all odds that with it, they could rewrite their fate. What awakening had they truly unleashed? But was the scroll the answer, or was it the first step into a deeper, more chilling darkness? The answer lay just beyond reach, waiting in the broken shadows. Clara dove forward, her fingers grazing the surface of the scroll as she felt the air shudder around her. The darkness roared like a wild beast, curling and twisting, threatening to swallow her whole. Time felt elastic, stretching every heartbeat, every gasp into an eternity. "Clara, watch out!" Michelle screamed, but the word barely registered. All her focus narrowed to the scroll, emanating a soft glow like a beacon in the chaos. She had to grasp it. It felt like the last remnant of hope in a pit of despair. As her fingers wrapped around the weathered parchment, a pulse of light surged through her. Clara's heart pounded, not just from fear but also from an electrifying sense of power reverberating through her body. She could feel the shadows recoiling, howling in protest against her touch. "Bind the darkness with your courage!" An echoing voice urged, shrouded in whispers of ancient knowledge. "No!" the entity screeched, its grotesque form trembling with rage, dark tendrils snapping toward Clara like overzealous vipers. She held the scroll firmly against her chest, her breath shallow and fast. "Chant, everyone! We need to banish it now!" Clara shouted, her voice ringing with a mix of fear and conviction. She took a deep breath and began to invoke the words, the incantation from the scroll, the words she hoped would banish this living nightmare. "From shadows deep, we claim our plight, in unity, we summon the light." With every syllable, The air thickened with smoke and tension, an unseen force vibrating around them as if the very fabric of the room was tearing. Echoes of their unity swelled, tossing back the encroaching darkness. Yet the entity lunged at Clara, claws gleaming ominously in the low light, seeking to break her concentration. It roared, "You think mere words can disperse me? You are a fool for challenging your fears." With an almost primal instinct, Clara raised the scroll high above her head, its power radiating through her veins. "We are not afraid," she declared. "Fear now belongs to you." The room pulsed in response, a crackle of energy exploding forth, rippling through the ground and sending sparks racing across the floor. Shadows recoiled, twisting and curling in desperation, as if trying to escape their doom. Fear ignited the space between them, but Clara felt the warmth of bravery coursing through her. The chant grew louder, drowning out the entity's incoherent cries. "Rising through the dark, we cast you away. In our strength, your shadows decay." With one final surge, the shadows faltered, shrinking back into the corners of the room. Clara could sense the vibration of a barrier forming, an invisible line pushed outwards by their combined energy. "Keep going! We're almost there!" Michelle yelled, eyes blazing with determination. Clara felt the power growing, fluctuating. But just as the energy seemed to peak, the darkness unleashed one last desperate attempt to reclaim its territory. The air twisted, freezing, catching them off guard. A piercing howl erupted from the depths of the dark figure. "No! You will not triumph!" It lunged, but Clara was ready. She slammed her palm against the scroll and shouted, "In the light of courage, darkness shatters." Suddenly, a blinding light erupted, filling the room, washing over everything. Clara shielded her eyes as the shadows screeched in agony, dissolving in the brilliance. Then silence. The oppressive heat was gone. The world shifted back into focus, revealing a room returned to normal, empty but for the trembling group, still linked together. Their breaths mingled in the collective aftermath of what had just transpired. Yet something felt wrong. With a sinking feeling, Clara realized she still held the scroll. It was warm against her skin, pulsating gently, a faint whisper of ominous power still resonating within it. Had they truly banished the darkness, or had they simply contained it within the scroll's confines? A chill ran down her spine, the implications wrapping tightly around her like fog. Clara Michelle's voice broke into her thoughts, laced with uncertainty. "What did we just do?" Clara stared at the scroll, feeling a weight of foreboding. The darkness might be gone, but whispers of the unknown loomed larger than ever. "Maybe the real terror is yet to come," she murmured, just as the scroll trembled in her grasp. And then, from within the scroll, a new voice began to rise. The voice that emerged from the scroll was unlike anything Clara had ever heard. It was smooth, alluring, yet laced with danger. "You think you've won?" it whispered, silk wrapping around the very edges of her mind. Clara felt her stomach lurch as the air thickened again, shadows creeping along the walls as if they were alive. "What is this?" Michelle gasped, glancing at Clara, wide-eyed with dread. The group's earlier elation was smothered under a blanket of confusion and fear. The power of the scroll a beacon moments ago now felt like a scarab crawling under Clara's skin. "Clara," the voice crooned, soft like a lover's caress but cold as death. "You've merely awakened me. The darkness is still very much alive, and it hungers." "Stop!" Clara shouted, her voice cracking. "What do you want?" The words felt like thin ice beneath her feet. The scroll flared in her grip, warmth morphing into a searing heat that threatened to burn her. "The truth," it replied, a chilling laughter echoing through her thoughts. "You have the power to contain, but do you understand its true nature?" She clenched her teeth, feeling the darkness snaking around her thoughts, whispering doubts, festering fears. Did they truly banish it, or had they invited it to play? "What do you mean?" Clara said, trying to find her footing. The other members of her group glanced at one another, uncertainty creeping into their expressions. The souls of the trapped, endless. "You seek to be heroes, yet you tread the fine line of doom." The voice seemed to curl around them, thickening the shadows. "Would you dare to find out what lies beyond this?" Enough of your games, Clara shouted. You're not in control anymore. But the bravado felt hollow. Her heart raced, the scroll pulsated, almost singing a perilous tune. Is that so? Came the mocking reply. Then prove it. Within this scroll lies the key to your perceived strength, and the power to unleash a darkness so deep it can consume the very fabric of your being. What do we have to do? Michelle asked, desperation lining her voice. Show us. Ah, brave little girl. Courage is commendable, but wisdom is key. Find the light within the dark. The voice twisted, sullying the air with malice. But be warned, not all light is pure. The truth may break you. What does that even mean? Clara asked, the scroll trembling violently in her grip, imbibing her fear. Unless you're willing to confront what it holds, the consequences will be dire. The voice laughed, a sound like shattering glass. Clara's hands shook. Should she press on? She could feel everyone's eyes on her, hope mixed with dread. The last shreds of certainty slipped away. They'd wanted to end the darkness, not open a Pandora's box. Clara, you've faced this thing down already, Michelle urged, urgency sweeping through her voice. We can handle it together, right? Right, Clara said, voice steadying, even as uncertainty coiled tight in her gut. Very well. The voice hissed, the room vibrating with energy. But remember, you asked for this. Power is a pact. You may glean strength, but what will you surrender to the dark? What are you asking for? Clara muttered, realization freezing her blood. Your fear? Your faith? Perhaps something more tangible? The shadows inched closer, tendrils intertwining like serpents. Clara felt their presence. It pressed against her, demanding an answer. We need time. Give us time, she pleaded, gripping the scroll tighter. Time? Oh no, dear Clara, time is your enemy, the voice replied with a smirk. Then the scroll flashed white-hot, blinding her. Clara's thoughts raced, panic settling in deep. What choice did she have? Would confronting the truth truly set them free, or would it break them apart? In that moment of brilliance, the room seemed to split as new visions fought to unlock in her mind. The weight of the scroll tugged her heart toward an unknown fate, and then, just as quickly as it began, the light faded, the echoing laughter of the dark entity resonated in the silence, full of dread promise. Choose wisely, or your fears will honor you with their presence once more, Clara breathed in, tasting of despair and realization. What awaited them next? A hollow question hung heavy in the air, electrifying her skin. What truth would they unearth? And would they choose to face it or be consumed by it? The stillness that followed was palpable, thick with tension and a sense of impending doom. Clara stood locked in place, the scrolls still simmering painfully in her grip. The shadows twisted around them like restless spirits, and every whisper from the darkness felt like a threat, daring them to act. Come on, Clara, Michelle urged softly, her eyes wide with anxiety. What do we do next? Clara took a deep breath, trying to dispel the swirl of doubt coiling in her stomach. She could feel her friends' eyes boring into her, all of them waiting for her decision, for a sign of leadership, but fear clawed at her resolve. We have to face whatever truth lies within the scroll, she said, voice trembling slightly but gaining strength. If we don't confront it, it will consume us. The darkness hungers for our fear. They formed a tight circle, linking their hands again. Clara caught the determined gaze of the frail woman from earlier. If we stand together, we can channel our fear into something powerful. But it means we have to be ready to sacrifice something. A murmur of agreement stirred, and a palpable sense of unity sparked. It was as if their collective fear morphed into a beacon of resilience. Let us do it, Michelle said, voice steady. We'll confront whatever resides within the scroll. Together. With newfound resolve, Clara took a step forward, feeling the warmth from the scrolls seep into her body. Okay, everyone, focus. On my count, we recite the chant again. We push back the darkness that tried to entangle us. As they braced themselves, Clara closed her eyes, and her breath calmed. 1, 2, 3. From shadows deep, we claim our plight. In unity, we summon the light. The combined voices echoed through the room, and a brilliant light erupted from the scroll, illuminating the space around them. Clara felt the tension lifting, each word they chanted pushed against the aggressive shadows. The once ominous power of the scroll transformed into a warm pulsing energy, wrapping around them like a protective barrier. But just as they began to feel the upper hand, the dark voice erupted once more, spewing fury. "You think you can defeat me? You have only scratched the surface of your truth. Your weakness, your guilt, your very essence is forfeit." The shadows surged forward as if to suffocate their light. Clara's heart plummeted. She was losing control. "No, we won't allow that," she declared, forcing the chant out once more with raw power. "Rising through the dark, we cast you away. In our strength, your shadows decay." Energy erupted with every iteration as the darkness howled in rage, the shadows crackling and flickering like dying embers. Clara felt the very foundation beneath her begin to tremble, the opposing forces colliding as they poured their souls into the chant. "Find the light within," Clara shouted, her voice pushed to its limits. "You cannot control us." In that moment, something shifted. The very air around them quivered, trembling with anticipation. A rift opened in the fabric of reality itself as the light pulled forth the darkest shadows, exposing their true form. The entity roared in defiance, but the chant surged, pushing back against the void with an unrelenting force. "Fear now belongs to you," Clara intoned fiercely, her voice merging with her friends to form an unbreakable bond of light. With one final cry, they unleashed all their hearts and souls, and the scroll ignited in a blinding flare. A powerful burst of light consumed the shadows, shrieking as they were drawn into the scroll's depths, the darkness dissipating into nothingness. And then silence. Clara opened her eyes, breathing heavily, and the room was redefined. No shadows lingered, no encroaching fears clawed at their edges. They had done it, they had faced the darkness, and come out the other side. Relief washed over her, but an aching heaviness settled in her heart. But was it enough? She whispered to Michelle, uncertainty still tinging her voice. Michelle smiled softly, glancing at the scroll, still warm in Clara's grasp. "For now, yes. But we can't let doubt creep back in. We stay vigilant. Such power can easily turn." Clara nodded, absorbing their victory, yet aware of the lingering shadows within. As they all exhaled the weight of what had transpired, a quiet sense of camaraderie arose. They were united, each of them a thread woven into the vast tapestry of human experience, now intricately linked by their confrontation with darkness. Something had awoken within them, a collective strength, fierce and unyielding. "Thank you," Clara said, meeting each of her friends' eyes in turn. "We faced fear head-on. We didn't allow it to overtake us." From a distance, the glow of dawn seeped into the cracks, illuminating the space around them. Clara could feel the pulse of hope in her heart. They were alive, they had triumphed, and they would continue to uncover the truths ahead together. "Let us leave the past behind," Michelle said with a renewed spark. "We step into the light." Clara smiled, realizing this was the beginning of something profound. The scroll, a new symbol of their journey, would always call to them. It was time to connect with the world waiting outside. Their story would be shared, lessons learned and the strength gained would ripple outwards. As they stepped towards the door, a wave of exhilaration washed over them. They had stared into the abyss and returned transformed. But the patterns of fate are unpredictable. The scroll whispered again, a faint echo in the back of Clara's mind. "Remember, the darkness is only a heartbeat away." As they pushed through the door, a promise of adventure awaited, new truths to discover, together in the light, and that's why this is the moment you need to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this intense conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this tale unfolds. True fans, this is your moment to shine.